privileged to have two of my favorite people in the world, and they happen to be in Arizona, which is a big plus because that's where I am. This is Dave Schmitz, and he runs Keto Carnivore, a very innovative restaurant in Kingman that I found out about when we were still in New York. We were amazed that there was such a place in Arizona. And also my good friend Brian Best, who is Spiritual Bean Coffee, and which I it's my go-to. There is no other coffee for me, but these to me represent a new breed of people that are attracted to the Arizona lifestyle and the Arizona attitude, meaning they're free thinkers. Brian is producing organic coffee. Dave is producing keto carnivore in a place where most people have not even heard of that. They don't. I think most people in Kingman, as liberated as they are in some regards, I don't know if they know about. I mean, I think a lot of them practice a kind of carnivore diet just naturally. Being in the West, we eat a lot of beef out here, but I also so we're just gonna let this go, but we also want to mention something that's really important to us, and that is the chemtrails. We are continuing to see chemtrails here in let me just add this, in Arizona, both in Prescott where Brian is, and in Kingman where Dave is, and I'm kind of out in between. I'm out in the Mojave Desert, but the chemtrails are not stopping. The only hiatus in the chemtrail production that I saw was during the government shutdown.
Mm.
So the government is somehow involved, and Dave has been kind enough to share with us that Don Martin, the county supervisor for District 4, is interested in helping us along these lines. And I do want to get to a little bit of like Brian and Dave's philosophy about food and organic food and all these things. But I think the chemtrail issue blankets everything. In other words, if we can't get rid of the chemtrails, we don't have a new economic system. We don't have med beds. We don't have anything if we can't get rid of these poisons in the air. Just like the food, just like pharmacy and the water, all these things. The parasites have been intent upon poisoning. So we're just going to take a few minutes to breach this subject. I'm going to give it over to Dave and let Dave share first, and then Brian can add what he thinks about it.
Sure.
Okay, first I just want to say again, it's really nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice, Dave.
It's
Thank
so
you.
cool what you're doing with coffee, especially when you find out how much mold can be inside of some of these coffees that sit on the shelf forever before
Right.
they're finally sold. And I look forward to trying your coffee. I'd like
Yeah.
to sell it here
Um,
if that's an option. So we need to
yeah.
talk because
Yeah.
I do sell local coffee. And that's part of the selling point with it is when you buy locally roasted coffee, you're getting better caffeine. The caffeine's such a good kick, and you know that it's not sitting on a shelf somewhere. And
Right.
and so the more that we can sell more local Arizona coffee, the better, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
But I do. Don Martin, and I haven't even read about it yet, but on the way out the door today, my wife told me that Don Martin has announced that on social media, and he's the county supervisor for District 4 here in Kingman, that he is ready to look into the chemtrails and ask serious, tough questions because we're watching this every day, literally every day.
Yeah.
There
It's
might be a
brutal.
day. Oh, what was that?
It's brutal. I mean, I lived other places, and it's like wow. It's like corduroy on the skyline, and it's amazing how
Yes,
much.
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, and what I have some photographs that I'll share on X when this gets posted. But I took some video of when they were just flying right over my house, or not my house. It was actually a house that I was at the moment, and I took video when they did it initially. And there's about four planes in the sky, four or five. I take video about an hour later, and I think I counted 7 or 8
Mm.
planes in the sky, and the one above me, the chemtrail above me, it's going in a line, and then it stops, shuts off. So that's not a contrail, I don't believe. And then it starts back on, kicks
Mm.
back on.
Mm.
And then about 2 hours later, I go out and I film again, completely gray skies. But here's the most interesting aspect, in my personal opinion, was I could see blue skies off in the distance all
Mm.
around me. So they had sprayed, if this is about refracting sunlight, which the federal government has said, yes, we are cloud seeding, we are doing these certain things to refract sunlight, we're doing it for your benefit. If that's the case, why are they doing it right over a populated area and not on the outskirts? Why could I see blue sky off in the distance? There is how much Mojave Desert? They have all the data in the world of where people live. And when some scientists out in California sent up a weather balloon to find out what metals were in these chemtrails, they found aluminum, which is terrible for your brain,
Right.
causes Alzheimer's, terrible for your pineal gland. They found barium, which if you get barium in your bloodstream, you have to go to the hospital immediately.
Mm.
And they found strontium. Strontium gets sucked up by your bones. And what that does is it leads to leukemia. It leads to blood cancer. Your bones can no longer create the blood cells that they need to. And my mother-in-law right now, at this moment, she is suffering from one of the most bizarre and rare AML leukemias. It's called AML leukemia, but it's one of the rarest, just bizarre cancers you've ever seen. I've never seen anyone deteriorate so quickly. Now, she got the jab, but she also lives in Las Vegas, where Kingman thinks they spray bad here. You ought to see Vegas. They spray every single day in Vegas, and I've been told that it's the same thing, where they're spraying over this plot of land with people living in it, but not on the outskirts, not out in the desert. So explain that to me. That's very interesting. And so if Don Martin is serious, and I'm going to tag him on this, if he's on X, I'm going to send it to him on Facebook. If he is serious, I'm going to post this on Keto Carnivore. If he's serious, man, you have so many Northern Arizonas that are ready to have your back. We just got to get the word out, and I'll do my part.
Good.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a continuing problem, and I've also seen it in Phoenix as well. We go down to Phoenix on occasion, and they're just doing. It's worse there. Yeah. Well, it was pretty bad in Vegas as well. But this is a horrific thing that like I said, everything else is kind of unimportant, or everything else is blanketed by this one issue. Because if we're poisoned, I mean, we can't function in all the great things of the Great Awakening. I mean, I totally believe the Great Awakening is upon us.
Mm.
I mean, we can see every day Trump is doing amazing things. They just took over Greenland. It's just, and this is all part of like a continuous continental, area. So it makes perfect sense. We accept the old way as like, well, what about Denmark? It's like, what about Denmark? I mean, the old world order is designed to make us crazy, to make us lunatics, to make us think that I have to hate you because you're in a different country that they made up. Basically, they're not, the countries are not drawn up according to like biological, like a region with a specific cultural heritage. They just put borders willy nilly all across everywhere, and then get us to fight. It's like wrestling matches. They just and the Satanists sustain themselves on this loose energy. But with that said, I just want to salute my friends, because they are so positive and so giving. Really, both of these guys are just, they would give you the shirt off your back if you asked them for it. I mean, I don't even like think about that with Brian. He sends me coffee. I'm just like, Brian, this is like the bread of shame. I mean, there's such a thing, Yiddishkeit, they talk about the bread of shame, where you're sitting at a rich dude's table and you feel like, you're not really enjoying it because you feel like, well, how can what am I doing here? I'm getting all this stuff and I'm not really repaying it. So, that's
It's
it.
okay, Ellie. Ellie, you're my test pilot. You
Okay.
and you and Danielle.
Yeah. So if anything happens to us, we'll
Yeah,
run to
give me
Keto.
some feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but we love. I mean, he's coming out with new, and he roasted himself in small batches, so it's definitely it's and he also has a very refined method of brewing the coffee, and he has certain devices that he uses. And Danielle is fascinated by it. Danielle wanted to make a video on it, but she just hasn't gotten to it yet. But so yeah. Besides the fact that we are all concerned about the chemtrails and the government and the elections in terms of Arizona, this is an amazing place to live, in my humble opinion. We Danielle and I were out all morning. We were digging, and we have this unusual, we have our own style of building where we use cedar posts. We stick them in the ground. We don't use concrete. And then we attach the cedar posts with ponderosa pine boards. Just the material that we happen to get our hands on. So we just started. I bought some trees recently, and I'm now sectioning off the garden, trying to shield the trees from the high wind up here. There's a
Mhm.
lot of wind, and the sun also on the western and southern end. But we're just loving it up here. I mean, the spirit of Arizona is a spirit of freedom. Yes, there are. I know I worked with a little bit with Brian when he was opening up Spiritual Bean Coffee in Prescott. That I thought they were really nitpicky about things, but I can only imagine it's 1,000 times worse in New York City.
Mhm.
However, I am seeing. I do want to like just push back and just make this a public understanding that I have another friend who runs a post office in Kingman, and her boyfriend, her husband, likes to bake, and he started to bake some products, really professional looking baked products, and the Kingman came and shut them down. Just said,
Mhm.
you can't do that. And I'm hoping in the near future, I'm a member, or I've joined this. Let me just put this on the Republic, which I encourage everyone to do. Get on the website and join the Republic. But I'm hoping that in the future we will have a much smaller government, and we won't have people that feel that they have to justify their existence by handing out stupid little regulations. I mean, these are professional baked items. It's not legal. I mean, it's insane. However, on the other hand, there are people who will get around that. I just found out about a local farm stand where you can go and get things. I don't want them to get in trouble either, but and I found out about that, by the way, from at Dave's place. Like Dave, and I'm sure Brian, these are like cultural centers. These are like if you were, I'm a little older than you guys, but if you were back in the 60s, these things started with little shops, with little, hippie shops, with little meetings. A couple of people. I remember years ago, I I was told about this thing called Earth Day. This was like back in the probably the late 60s. And there were like three people in a room meeting, and we're like, how can we make this like a big deal? And now Earth Day is, it's probably been taken over by the creeps, but
Hmm.
um,
Infiltrated.
infiltrated, right? But things start with little people, with regular people showing the way. And I just admire Dave and Brian so much for really putting themselves out there and leaving the matrix and starting very unusual businesses that are not the whole world is run by these big corporations. So for an unusual business with real
Right.
character and real flavor and real quality is a huge kind of rebellion. I don't want to say rebellion, but it has huge weight in collective consciousness, in my opinion.
You know what just came to me, Guru? It's almost like Dave and I went back in time because in the old day, you would start a business. It was easy, and I know with coffee, it's become a game of like who can buy the cheapest coffee, and then the CEOs and the people get involved and they try and save money any way they can, and instead of creating a super nice product. But when you were saying that, it came to me. It's like, oh yeah, it's like who didn't go to the meat store? Who didn't go to get their coffee at the local coffee roaster? And in a way, we're kind of going back in time and getting rid of it. I mean, the corporate's going to go away for the most part, especially if they've been involved in nefarious actions, which a lot of them are. It's sad to say. So, anyways, that sounds like, I mean, wouldn't it be cool to go into town and have a bunch of little stores instead of, having to go to Walmart or one of these bunkers,
Yeah, and I think I just heard recently that Pfizer has a hand in like 90% of the cheese that's made in America right now. There's an ingredient when you're making cheese, and it starts with an R. Cannot think of it off the top of my head. Again, this was something I just read real fast in passing, but these giant corporations it's complete capture. It's complete capture, and to try to offer up alternatives, if you feel like you start getting some momentum, I think people worry that they will use their powers to try to stop you.
Right.
And now I've had amazing luck here in Kingman. We had to put our kolaches in the fridge, and I guess I sort of understand that. But other than that, the health inspectors, everyone has just been so gracious, so generous, and they support small business here in Kingman. That's part of the reason that I felt safe opening this company, is because Northern Arizona specifically really it has a heartbeat of freedom and liberty, and it's beaten, and there's hope out here. There's hope, there's faith, and as for whether or not people will copy me and start cooking things in butter and tallow, I don't know. But I want to at least give people the option. I want to have a place where I could take my family, because I have a couple kids. I can't take them anywhere else. But we can eat here in our own restaurant. They can eat these foods. And I know that I'm not the only one that's going through that right now. One of the most interesting aspects of running this business is the families that come in, and the older adults. We live in a retirement community. The older adults that come in here and say, I just found out I'm celiac. I'm 60 years old. I'm 50 years old. And this is why I question these heavy metals, the problem, what's going on with the heavy metals. Because the autoimmune disorders in children, we hear about it. What nobody's talking about is the fact that so many people in their 40s, 50s, 60s are developing autoimmune disorders later in life. And that didn't seem to happen to the generation before them. And the quiet generation did not seem to. I mean, my grandparents, who are now great grandparents, I talked to them. One's 94, the other's 88, and they're eating, whatever they want, just fine, no problem. So what happened? What happened?
Right.
And that's what I don't know.
The other thing that I was thinking about, just in terms of your businesses, and like everything's made of seed oil now, right? I mean, you cannot. That's for us. Dave is like the only place where we feel comfortable eating in town. Everything else is, you don't know what they're cooking their things in. To cook something in tallow and butter is phenomenal. But the thing that you can't get in these big corporate things, like the other day, we had a real problem. Our Jeep was repossessed in the Walmart parking lot. We went in for like 5 minutes, and we came out in our. I was a noodlehead. I didn't pay. I wasn't paying. They didn't send me a bill. Actually, they didn't know my address, so the bill just, it wasn't paid. But I lost my truck, and I came into Walmart, and I said, I need a phone. My truck is gone. And they were very unpleasant. They were very difficult.
Mhm.
And to go into a place, to go into a store where you know someone, where a person has a connection to it, I think is so essential to the future of mankind. We don't
Mhm.
want to be treated like, like numbers on a shelf. It's just like these big corporations. But right, Kingman has a spirit of liberty, and a lot. And the other thing about Kingman is you can own land here. You don't have to live like the Matrix. You can live outside the Matrix very easily. And in Kingman, I often meet people who have their own chickens, and it's just so refreshing from having escaped New York to meet people who are, they're not mainstream thinking. I think they're unusual people.
Yeah, I think I probably had a little harder time here in Prescott opening a business. The we had to hire a guy, and his job is to there's a some sort of a business license. We needed him, and he was from the town to the north of us. And he said, if you were to open your town here in Chino Valley, you'd be open next week. It took me like over a year, and the guy like was like kept giving me crap about the water heater is not big enough, and I said, well, what's the specs on it? And he didn't give me his criteria on basing how many sinks you have, how much water flow per minute, that kind of thing. He just kept saying, no, it's not big enough. No, it's not big enough. And it's like, boy, and I kept, should I get a Bosch? Should I get a, what kind of a water? I can't tell you that information because, we're not promoted by them, So there came to a point where this guy finally said, we got to get you open. And he kind of put his hand on my back. I think he realized at that time, hey, these are really nice people. They're not looking to take advantage of us, and I'm sure they run into unscrupulous people, doing, crazy stuff. But here in Prescott, I don't think they want a whole lot of businesses. I mean, it seems like um, it would be nice if there was. A lot of the properties are owned by, one person owns 47 properties. It's like, what do you need 47 properties for? But, I understand he's got his game going, and, he's very successful at it. So basically you're going to be renting from him. But to start a business, Prescott was definitely harder than other towns because this inspector had told us, go to Prescott Valley, it'll be easy. Go to Chino Valley, it'll be easy. So, anyways.
Yeah, well, that was also, I mean, the same kind of issue that I had when I first left New York. The first place I looked was Prescott. Why did I look at Prescott? Because Brian was there, and Brian said, "This is a really cool place. We got nice trees. It's a really beautiful place." So I at some point I realized that it wouldn't be suitable for me to buy a house. It wasn't it just wasn't for me. That I really wanted to buy some land. So I looked at some land in Prescott, but Prescott is very highly developed, and it was we're talking like, people, instead of saying like this is so much money, it's fractions of a million. It's like half a million, or that the scale of the property I was looking into was way out of my range. But here in near Kingman in the Mojave Desert, I got a amazing a large piece of land for what seemed to be a pretty reasonable price,
Mhm.
and so it's an amazing place to live. I just I love, and I really enjoy. We go into town a couple, like at least twice a week, and we have like a regular cadre of people that we visit, like Dave, and it's wonderful. Dave recently expanded his hours, which is so exciting for us because with the broadcast and everything, to get out of here early in the morning is really rough. But thank God, Dave is now open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday till 9 p.m. So that's that's amazing. I know you also work in the morning, right, Brian?
Yeah, we're closed Monday. Today's my day off. So I went on a nice hike earlier with the little dog. So it was quite nice. But yeah, we're open Tuesday through Saturday, 7:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. Get the coffee drinkers. And then on Sunday, we're open for a short time. We're only open from 9 a.m. to 1 to kind of catch the after church crowd. So those are our hours.
That's beautiful. Also, I might add that both entrepreneurs here, um, their space is very unusual and very creative. Brian has like, well, Brian was is a recovering landscape architect.
Yeah,
I mean, I call myself a recovering public school teacher,
right.
but he he has little gardens, like little spots along this sort of riverbank uh, drainage place that you can just park yourself and probably have all kinds of um, just I don't know what it's like there. I mean, I haven't actually been there, but I can just imagine, my mind's eye that you could have just the most delicious conversation while sitting there in this kind of open thing, and so too with Dave's business. It's a very it just has a very open feel because there is land there where people are not cramped into little spaces. So
Mhm.
it's wonderful to go into businesses where you feel inspired to be creative, which is why we left New York in the first place.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we have a pretty open floor plan. We're small. The building was built in 1940, and I've had to, have outlets put all over the place so that I could put new fridges or freezers and whatnot. But the nice part is that it's small, and so people come in and they sit down, and just the conversations that people have, and a lot of times food brings people together. Food brings people together. You talk about food, and this is also the hindrance for us is if we say, hey, we try to not have carbs, we try to not have sugar. For a lot of folks, you're talking about their grandma. You're speaking ill of
Right.
how
Yeah.
they were raised. It's personal, and so we have a lot of people that avoid us, not realizing that we have just really good, well cooked food. Best omelets you ever had. My cook Cody is on a different level when it comes to breakfast items. Well, it comes to everything he does. I mean, he's just perfect. And but that word keto is stigmatized, where people automatically start thinking, oh, it's health food. They don't realize for us, health food just means butter, and it means high fat, and it means salt and sodium and the things that your body truly needs. And Brian Johnson, this guy that's become famous for saying that he's going to help people live forever, he just did a really good video. And he gets a lot of flack from people. And I understand that. I get why people are scared of this idea of someone saying, hey, we're going to hook you up to a computer and your conscience can go on for eternity. Yeah, of course, we're going to be a little wary of that. But on just a personal basis, the guy just seems like a really good person. And he did a video that was a lot like what you'll see Paul Saladino do, where he took a Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell. And I didn't realize, we were just talking about aluminum being sprayed. There's aluminum in Crunchwrap Supremes.
Wow.
And so you talk about living in the Matrix. Nobody knows these things are in our food. The emulsifiers in a Crunchwrap Supreme are through the roof as well. But the aluminum was shocking, and I forget what the amount exactly was. I posted it on my X, and I'll repost it again. But it was mind blowing how much aluminum is in just one Taco Bell item,
Hmm.
and that's what people are eating. That is fast.
Mhm.
It's affordable, and so for the little guys that are trying to cook in butter or tallow or lard and are trying to keep costs down, it's not always easy for us. But I go to bed feeling good, feeling okay about myself at night.
Mhm.
Let's put it that way. And there's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for that in the long term. If you're looking long term, you're going to want to treat your body like a temple, and you're going to want to treat other people like they are their own special gift from God in their own temple.
Mhm.
And the more we get to where these hedge funds, BlackRock, Vanguard, these guys, State Street, are controlling these minutia details, these dollars and cents. Everything is coming down to bottom line, and then we're told, well, that's the way. That's okay. Ever since the '80s, greed is good.
Mm.
Yes, yes, the desire to be better and to make more money is not an evil thing. But when you take ethics and you throw them out the window and you say, you know what, that's for the next guy, there's going to be problems in the long run. And I think the American people are shocked at how fast that came about.
Mhm.
It's on us. We embraced it and we said, yes, big business is good. It's the George W. Bush thing of business is good no matter what, as long as it's business. And now we have to own it.
Mhm.
We're living in it, and we're seeing that maybe just because it's, and I think I've talked about this with you, Eli, or is it Ellie or Eli? I've been calling you
It
Eli.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I introduced myself in Kingman as Eli, but it's in Hebrew. It's closer to Eli, but it really doesn't. I don't care what anybody calls
Well,
me.
I'll call you Ellie. I'll call you Ellie.
Okay. Okay.
And so it um, we've reached this interesting inflection point where the government has finally flipped the pyramid upside down, said this is the way. And now the question is, can the guys that are trying to say that this is the correct way, A, hold on to power long enough before they try to flip it
Mm.
back, or find some minutia within it and say, oh, this isn't exactly right? Because they will have to in order to keep costs down. Or are we going to hold on to it and say, this is, RFK Jr. has put the time and the effort, he has the knowledge, his people have the knowledge. And can we hold on? Because trust me, BlackRock doesn't like that thing getting
Mm-mm.
flipped. It doesn't like the food pyramid upside down. State Street doesn't like the food pyramid upside down. This is going to cost them big money to make these kinds of changes. And so the American people can vote with their wallets, and they need to do so. If you know someone in your small town that is doing things the right way, try to support them. And I don't just say that because I'm biased and want business myself. I say that from the heart because America has to get healthy. If we can get our bodies healthy, we're going to get our brains healthy, and then we're going to fight the good fight. And that, you want to talk about the great awakening, wait until everybody's eating right. Wait until everybody has a clear mind and a clean pineal gland and a clear conscience. The Leviathan doesn't stand a chance against us at that point.
Mhm.
So beautiful. Yeah. It's. Yeah, I mean, they say that there was a guy on the internet a while ago. He's kind of controversial and he's a bit anti-Israel, but he said that all these corporations are owned by the same people and they all own each other. So it's not even like two different corporations. It's just really one block, one corporation, and they decide everything. And I was thinking the thing that flashed into my mind was I'm a wannabe songwriter. I'm a songwriter, and years ago, I went to Nashville when I was 19 in the very early 70s. And Nashville was like, for a guy from New York, it was just like, it was like hillbilly central. It was the most exciting thing. I mean, people were really regional and very different from what I was used to. And there were all kinds of cool little stores. You could get, some kind of like weird chicken or, catfish stuff. And I mean, this kind of like regional um uh like blue blossoming. It was just so cool, and I met very unusual people. And then I went back years later in the 90s. I went back to the same town and was all Burger King and
Mhm.
and the big corporations had taken over. I said this could be any town in the world. I remember when Nashville was Nashville, and
Mhm.
you were walking down the street with your guitar in your hand, and it was like and you went and the songwriters all went to mom's boarding house. We all stayed in this like dilapidated boarding house. Like it was like $10 a week or something, and mom fed you breakfast. I mean, this kind of regional character. When I was in Dave's store the other day, I saw a young man and his father. I didn't get into a conversation because I was actually honestly a little intimidated. But the young man was dressed like a cowboy. He had spurs on, and he had
Mhm.
like a leather wallet and a big hat. And his father and mother were there. And this is the kind of thing you want to see. You want to see people being extremely themselves, extremely unique, because that's the blessing of being alive, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, the freedom to do what you want. Kern and I went to an Italian restaurant, just on this edge of the town, and it's a little mom and pop place, La Brusas or something like that. And it's like, well, we're sitting on the side little booth, and some family came in, and Dad's got the cowboy hat and a big old 38 hanging off his belt, right in the middle of the store. I said, I feel safe. This is great.
That's right.
And then on your topic of freedom too, at Walmart, Corinne and I, we shopped there on to get some things, and they recently here in Prescott wanted to check your receipts as you leave the store. That's when you hear me say, God bless America. I'm out of here, because at Costco, it's a private company and they want to, it's their products and they got boxes and whatever. So they check your receipts. We don't mind, showing our receipt there, but it just seems like an infringement on your freedom. When I go and buy, I'm not stealing anything. It's like, do you not trust me? It's like, okay, well, Happy New Year. I'm out of here. So I think people appreciate that. Even the person standing at the front of the store, it's kind of like, oh, okay, good. I don't have to. Now they know, it's like, hey, how you doing? They say hello when you leave, it's like, okay, we're not going to ask you to check your receipt.
No, and you don't want to be a conspiracy theorist about everything.
Right.
But I go to Sam's now in Bullhead, and the cameras watch you so closely that when you check out, I don't know if they've got AI. I'm sure they do at this point, or if it's somebody watching each and every register that flags you. And if they think that you look like you may have done something suspicious, that you have to show them the receipt, and then they have to scan 5 items really quickly. And then if you go and buy, a handful of things and you're fast and you don't stop to get a drink at the end, they let you on by. They have a little thing that says this person can keep going, go on by.
Interesting.
Well, at what point, I'm going to tell y'all right now that AI is on every device in America, in the world. It's listening to absolutely everything you do. And we know China has a social credit score. I am pretty darn sure that there's one that if not the US government, that at least the banks have on us. At what point can they start harassing you if they're just tired of your shit? If you're going live and you're speaking out, you're saying again, sorry for cussing. I keep doing that to you, Ellie.
Okay,
I am so
no
sorry.
problem. We're used to it. I do it a lot.
All right.
Okay.
But at what point does that get creeped in to where, I'm used to this now at Sam's. If I have my 7 kids, they usually want to see the receipt. There's a hustle and a bustle. They sit down and they'll eat at the end, get something to eat or something to drink. And so they'll want to see the receipt before we leave, just in case something missed something and we toss something in the basket, I guess. But we've been trained now that to not even demand help when you check out, that you have to go scan it yourself. And then we're told that this is the future. Hey, look, you get to do more work for us, and Walmart is making record profits year after year. Bentonville is the biggest thing that's happened in the South in a long time right now. You want to talk about housing prices? Go look at the Bentonville housing. I mean, they're booming. And yet they're hiring a handful of people to monitor, to be hall monitors. And is that where we're headed, where everyone at every box store is a hall monitor as the AI decides on how you're treated by the hall monitors? I think it is where we're headed. I think it is where we're headed. And then your brain, your fight or flight is worn down. You're used to it. Oh, for my kids, this is the way. This is going to be what they experience. This is the way. And so your fight or flight's worn down and you think, well, this is normal. And then the government says, now we're going to do this to every single thing you do for the rest of your life. And are my kids going to be ready to say, no, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but do you know about Q a little bit? I've talked to you about it a little.
I followed Q. Yeah, I've liked this stuff, not necessarily from I buy in 100% of the time. Did you ever hear of Cicada 3300? Okay, look into Cicada 3300. I got into that around the same time that someone had told me about this guy named Jeffrey Epstein. And I followed, just trying to figure out what Cicada was. You might look into that too. And then when the Q posts started coming out, I followed it like a hawk. For me, at the end of the day, no matter what, for them to keep bringing up God, and a higher source, and having faith, to have faith. I thought, no evil entity, if this truly is a spiritual warfare, no evil entity would tell this many people to keep praying, because it's real. If it's real, it's real. And I believe in spiritual warfare. And so for them to say, keep praying, I thought, this cannot be the enemy tricking us, because they would never in a million years tell this many people to pray, because they know that it's real.
They know the power. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say that you guys are the antidote to this AI force, and that it seems like like in Elon's mind, the AI is going to take care of the more mundane aspects of, like, for me, the Matrix, meaning like, I got to fill out some form. I got to wait on the phone to talk to somebody, and then I won't be able to do it because I didn't have this thing and I didn't have that thing. That's what 20 years in the Department of Education. It's like, well, you didn't bring this or you're sitting at the motor vehicle in New York City, and you're like, well, yeah, but you didn't. I mean, honestly, this happened before we left. You don't have a reservation today. You literally cannot come into the motor vehicle. But that aspect of our lives, it hopefully will be taken care of by this sort of AI custodian, and that you guys are the antidote to that, and you are showing people out in the world that you don't have to live like a refugee. You can escape. You can start businesses. There are places to go. And so, while I agree, there is, I just, I'm form phobic. I mean, I'm just like, as soon as I get on hold on a call, I'm just telling Daniela, I'm out, man. I mean, I don't care what it is. So you want to give me $1 million? I'm not waiting. I'm just not interested. I'm not taking a piece of my life and putting it on hold while some and usually, I mean, oh my God, when my car was repossessed, I tried to get hold of the bank. They would not talk to you until you've been on hold for an hour. And
Wow.
each time they would talk to you, they would transfer you to another department, and you would have to wait another hour. And after like 3 or 4 times of this, I ran back to the auto dealer. I said, I got to use your phone, man, because but this that aspect of our lives, you know, I I love building things. I'm out here building. Me and Danielle. I mean, I'm 71 years, almost 71. I don't, I do not consider it menial to dig in the dirt. I end up digging most of the day. I'm like with a pickaxe and a shovel. And this is really, to me, this is the joy. And so too with your businesses, you are showing people that you don't have to accept the matrix, that you can rise above it, you can create your own, it can be good for people, and and not just focused on the dollar, but you, both of you, and Dave and Brian, you're essentially educators right now. You're educating, there are people that don't know that seed oils that say, natural product seed oil, they don't know that that's nonsense. They
Mhm.
and you so you're like you guys, I'm just saying, like, the thought of getting you guys together is to show the world, is to show Americans, to show people all over the world that there is freedom, and there is hope, and there are people running, living real lives.
Mhm.
And you guys are, like, I think, just shining examples, and that I don't think AI can really compete with that's the with a business, with a person, where you come in, like, I say hello to Cody, I say hello to Kristen, I have a relationship
Mhm.
with your restaurant, and that's and same with Brian, of course. But this they cannot defeat humanity in
Mhm.
that way, in my opinion.
Yeah, just this last week, we've had a woman. She comes in for coffee with her husband. He gets his hair cut across the parking lot. And well, I've gotten to know her 3 or 4 or 5 times she's been in, and she comes out. She says, "Yeah, I'm making soap," and I said, "Well, that's really interesting." And well, she brought some in yesterday, and we gave her coffee grinds, used coffee grinds, and so she freezes them. She has some process that the coffee, I mean the bar of soap is just gorgeous. I mean, it's like a latte. It's got like some cream on the top with some coffee sprinkles, and it smells like coffee, and it's fantastic. I mean, we're gonna sell it at the shop, and it's like, wow, cool. Here, she's really good at that. And we've got another woman, sourdough bread. She does gluten-free sourdough, and I swear that thing landed on the shelf for 10 minutes. It was gone. So this week she brought in gluten-free sourdough and also her regular sourdough, and man, it's incredible. So here's people that are good at what they do, and then I'm good at what I do. And my I got a good friend of mine, Jerry Rose, and he says, "Do what you're good at, and let somebody else do what they're good at." And he says, "You can't be the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker." He says, "Pick one." So it's like, wouldn't it be cool to? It's almost like you kind of imagine farmers market. There's different shops, and everybody's good at what they do, and it's like, wow, it would be a good place to encourage people and find out what they are good at, because people are generally good at something.
And that's the truth.
And also, just as a side point, Dave has a bulletin board, and he sells some kind of like new agey products that are really cool. And we found out about a business from looking at. So these are not you're not just leading humanity. You're not just showing the way, but you're really these become cultural centers. So for us,
Right.
we found a really cool business. We found a farm stand, actually, and we called her up, and I mean, it's just, and so we have another place to buy things when we come into town. So this you guys are really, I don't think you should underestimate how much of a how much of like, I don't want to use the word, let's say evolution, how much of an evolutionary figures that you are. You're pioneers in a kind of a new place, because Arizona tends to collect a lot of, I mean, there are some people who were brought up here, but it's kind of like becoming a place where freedom seekers, where people who want to carry a firearm and feel safe doing that. And I never hear of gunfights in Kingman. I mean,
Right, right, right.
I mean, a guy who came here from Vegas, he said, "We all have guns, but nobody ever uses them." It's just like there's peace in that. But
Right.
if you're in New York, man, you don't know what anyone's carrying, and it's you have to be a little more careful in kind of a weird way. But anyway, I really just want to salute you guys. I mean, I hope we do this. We can continue doing this every Monday. It's joyous for me, and I don't know if you're seeing the comments. Can you see the comments?
No, I can't.
You can't see the comments? I
Mm-mm.
wonder how I can share that, because you should be able to see that. I know Dr. Stacy's able to see it. Show on stream. Oh, I could do. Let me go to this. Yeah. So now you'll be able to see the
Oh yeah.
comment.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so there are a lot of comments coming in, and half the people here are transplants. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of people. We have a beautiful community. Well, I call it like we have like a family, and I've been doing this broadcast for, somebody told me, 9 years. It's kind of like what you guys are good at. For some reason, I'm good at this. I don't have any background in broadcasting or anything, but I just love doing it. But I'm hoping that we can continue this, and just get into anything. And also, I invite other people that are entrepreneurs in their place to come and join us as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ellie. I appreciate
Yeah.
being on, and Dave, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
So,
it's great meeting you, and Ellie, you're an inspiration as well. Just to come out here and really, I mean, you want to talk about bootstraps, to just go out and say, yeah, I'm going to buy this land, and then I'm going to build the house. And for you and Danielle to do it
right, right.
yourself from the bottom up, just from scratch, should show everyone that it's possible if you still have American grit. And
Mhm.
we talk all the day long. That's on X lately. There's been a big discussion about IQ, and this, that, and the other about IQ. You know what matters is PQ, persistence quotient,
Mm.
and grit and risk taking. That's what built America, nothing else. And I'm not going to say nothing else, but that's really what built this country and turned it into what it is. And man, to know that folks like you are out here fighting the good fight is very heartening.
Mm.
Well, thanks, Dave. Yeah, so it's so joyful. I mean, I feel like, when I'm digging, I feel like I'm a little boy playing in mud pat, making mud piles, and it's just it really, it just fulfills. We just have so much fun. In my creative process, I don't just work on one thing at a time. We work on five different areas, and we'll go, okay, let's do this now. And Danielle, it's just, but this is the creative process, and I just want just a shout out to everybody out there, that everyone has this kind of genius. And whatever it is, it may be something, but making soap is a big deal. uh I don't use it very often, but Danielle, once in a while, she's like, "You got to use soap, man." But it's all good, and so we'll continue doing this, and we'll continue to encourage people to let go of the matrix. Hang up the phone when they want to put you on hold, and just say, "I'm out." I'm going to the
Mhm.
promised land. So yeah. And while I'm here, let me just do some shameless promotion too. I just want to encourage everyone. Everyone should know about the LifeWave product, and we appreciate your support in that area. You can reach out to Dr. Stacy, reach out to Danielle, or any other folks that are behind this product. But we love LifeWave, and I also hope that Brian and Dave, that you now have each other's email, so you can get a hold of each other. But Brian, he roasts his beans, in his shop, very small bags, and he comes up with these incredible, like he has one called Skywalker and Freight Train, and just
Wyatt Earp.
Wyatt Earp. He just started recently. Was kind of a local because Wyatt Earp was from Prescott, right?
Right. Well, yeah, he was here for a while, I'm sure. And but I tried to represent a coffee that he would drink. So I don't think he was bringing coffee in from Africa or anything. So my go-to has been Mexican Chiapas for about 2 years now. And so now I blend a Mexican Chiapas, mostly Mexican, half of it Mexican Chiapas. And I've got some Bolivia in there. The Bolivia adds a little smokiness. The coffee drinkers call it tobacco. And then I've got some Peru and some Colombian. So it's kind of it's not a single origin, but it's, from a similar area that would have came up to Wyatt Earp in the day. But I need to do some research on that just to make sure I'm correct. So.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna order some of this.
Well, I'll bring it down to you. I got to come down and visit you, and Kingman's not too far. A nice drive. Yeah. So I'll come down and say hi and bring you some coffee.
That would be awesome.
Let me know when you come. We'll come and we'll
I'll have a big party at Dave's.
Protein bagels for Dave at the same time.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Make you guys some good sandwiches.
Right.
Yeah, Cody's amazing and Dave's amazing, and they have amazing products, and Brian too. So we're just gonna feast out on this and enjoy the bliss of meeting other like-minded people. So we'll catch you guys next. We'll try to make this a regular thing next Monday at 2:00. And thanks to everyone for coming. Let's see if I put the chat. I have 2 chats up here now. But okay, so we'll get used to the technology anyway. Right. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
God bless all.